as we get the ball rolling. And if they aren't, not a big deal. That's why we record the calls. So I want to first off say thank you to everyone who jumped on live, especially you, Joel. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to just drop some knowledge bombs on us, because I know there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot of industry secrets that and there's a lot of things that we can do with Facebook that have nothing to do with messaging. And if we can continue to be consistent with messaging, but add on some additional aspects in terms of branding and creating curiosity and creating transparency, I know that our effectiveness on messaging just goes through the roof. So just want to say thank you first and foremost for being on the call with us today. Did you just share your screen with all of us?
Yeah, I don't know if it popped up or how it popped up or.
Yes, it did pop up.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's totally okay for right now. I'm going to be sharing at one point as well, so you might have to fight for the screen. But if you need to share your screen, that's totally fine. But I do want to start off the call with just a couple quick reminders, housekeeping items here. First off, thank you to everybody who jumped on our office hours this morning. We had 11 people utilize the office hours, and I was pretty much coaching from 8:15 to 11 a.m. So that makes me really happy to be able to impact all of you who jumped on, and just great to see that people are hungry for growth and wanting to ask questions and learn how to get better. That's really, really important as we head into one of the biggest months of the summer. The second thing that I want to remind everybody is that we have an upcoming branch impact call that will be on June 4th, next Tuesday, all about overcoming adversity. Now, I know that today's call is on a Wednesday at 2 p.m., but we're going to resume normal times for Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time next week. The call is all about overcoming adversity. This is one of our top-rated calls from last summer. People loved to hear some of the crazy things that happened to branches last summer and how they overcame it. So it is a fun call to get on. You will hear some crazy stories, but you'll always hear how people overcame those crazy stories and powered through to create a really awesome summer for themselves. So make sure that is in your calendar, and as always, it will be recorded. The final thing that I want to say that I really feel like is special because of the fact that we're having this call today, I just want to remind everybody that recruiting is not over. Jumpstart is not dead. Just because you might have sent out all of your messages or you're close to sending out all of your messages does not mean that you still can't recruit from Facebook. And that's really what this call is all about. As a matter of fact, I would argue that this time that we're in right now, the beginning of June, end of May, is actually even better for recruiting than April and the beginning of May. Reason being is because the kids who haven't yet found a job, they're no longer kind of picking and choosing. They're like, I just need to find something. So you happen to message them at the right time. They're like, all right, I'm coming in. Those who have found a job, they've started to realize that maybe they don't like their job, or their job isn't paying them enough money and they need to get a second job. And so they're a lot more open to coming in for an interview, whereas maybe in April or May, they kind of thought, you know what, I'm good, I got a job. So just remember that. I would actually argue right now it's a better time to recruit than before. So don't forget that, and realize that we're still gearing up in recruiting, and you haven't even had your biggest interview or your biggest training yet. That being said, I would like to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Joel Konsinski, our PR manager. I think he has the most valuable job in our company. He is the one who defends and protects and creates an amazing brand that we all know and love here at Vector Marketing. Joel is a former DM from New Orleans, Louisiana. He now lives up in Washington, the state, not the city. He is a new father to a beautiful baby boy, Aiden. And, he's just someone who I look up to greatly in business, always willing to help, always to share thoughts and to grow and to learn more and to bring us to that next level of brand awareness, and really just representing the company that we are and the company that we know we can become, and all those good things. So, Joel, I want to say thank you once again for being on the call here. Did you have any opening comments prepared, or do you want me just to dive right in?
Yeah, I mean, first off, thank you, Shelby. And I know that these calls are so valuable, for you that are taking the time and really putting this in your schedule and making it work. because I know in the heat of the summer, it's common that we're just so go, go, go kind of doing the activities. And it takes a little bit of discipline to stop, to learn, to reflect, right? And to maybe adjust or tweak one thing that you're doing that could have some really significant impact on your business. So I just wanted to recognize you, Shelby, for one, putting on these calls, and to everybody that's listening right now. The goal for today is that we just kind of talk through social media, right? And to your point of, yeah, recruiting's definitely not dead. I was a junior recruit way back in 2007 when we had landlines instead of cell phones. That was crazy. And, I was exactly what you were describing too, Shelby. It was like May, I thought I had my summer job figured out, and then it fell through. And then, I was crying, going to check the mail, and it's like, oh my goodness, this letter here, what is it? And I was like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to show up for an interview. So it's definitely not, over per se. And social media is just an amplifier, for your efforts. So we're going to cover some strategies and tactics for today. So yeah, that's kind of the opening comments per se.
Great. Awesome. All right, Joel. So where I want to start right now is I do want to start at the basics. Now I know that, the way that I promoted this call was it's kind of an additional tips and tricks on top of Facebook Jumpstart. I know we've talked at very much length about Facebook Jumpstart, but I do want to give you the opportunity, Joel, just to reiterate some of the key basic components of Facebook Jumpstart. Now, really quickly, before I do that, I want to just mention the same thing that I mention all the time. If you hear a nugget, please utilize the chat feature to say so, just like I'm doing right now. What this helps everyone do is to stay engaged and to keep the conversation going. It also helps kind of support the speaker themselves, making sure that they know that they're dropping bombs of knowledge, and we want to make sure that they feel supported and loved in the process of doing that. We also are going to have a time for question and answer as well. So if you've got any questions, feel free to type them into the group chat, and we'll address them at the very end. So that being said, Joel, please just share with us some of just the basic reminders about Facebook Jumpstart from a messaging standpoint.
Yeah. So here's really what I want us to get in the mindset of is general marketing terms. Facebook Jumpstart is very much what they refer to as a direct response ad, right? Meaning that we are sending a message and they're responding, right? Or we're asking them to do some activity at the end. So I think, Shelby, the way our call's going to go today is more along the lines of, obviously we'll nail some Facebook Jumpstart, which is more of that direct response, kind of the instant gratification, I would say, right? Of them actually giving you a yes or no or not responding, right? Versus the end of this, maybe we can get in like some branding stuff, something that you could do more long-term, right? To utilize this audience that you've built, that in my opinion, I think there's so much more than just sending the message. So let's talk real quick about Facebook Jumpstart and specifically about direct response advertising, right? So direct response is more like, hey, I'm hungry. Let me go get a bowl of cereal. I'm going to eat right now, right? Versus branding is, hey, I'm going to go plant, I'm looking out at my plants outside and, hey, I know I planted it and it's going to water. I'm going to water it. It's going to grow. May not be ready now, but in the future, the harvest is there, right? So there's two different mindsets that we need to think about. Facebook Jumpstart, direct response. Branding, more long-term, right? The results will come as long as you consistently show up and tend to your harvest, so to speak. So Facebook Jumpstart. So let's talk specifically about kind of just 4 things. So this would probably be a good checklist for Facebook Jumpstart, regardless of where you're at right now. Number 1 is, where are you at mentally? So I remember throwing a bottle cap away whenever I was like 10 or 12, and I missed the trash, and my grandpa looked at me and he said, he said, pick that up and throw it away. I was like, it's just a bottle cap. It's not a big deal. And he said, how you treat small decisions is how you treat big ones. So continuously show up. And how are you mentally? Meaning honor your commitments, right? So if you said that, hey, I'm going to build an audience of 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people, and you already did that, how many messages have you sent, right? Finish the race and honor your commitment to yourself. So if you have 2,000 built and you're sitting there at 1,000 and, you're starting to play that mental game of like, oh, I've already, maybe they won't respond, or maybe you've been hit in the face a few times by a few negative Nancy's. It's like, I don't know, right? So you're a little bit reluctant to honor that commitment and finish it out. So step number one is honor the commitment to yourself. All messages out. And obviously create a plan for that, right? Follow through with it. So if you've got an extra 500 messages to get out at 50 messages per session, then schedule 10 days where you can really put that in your schedule. That's number one. I know it's super simple, but it's just about honoring your word. Number two, I would say is don't overcomplicate the program. So everything's laid out, all the scripts, all the responses, the support that you have is amazing. So use your community and use those people, obviously all the knowledge of the people in the community. So that's number two. Number three is you may want to do a quick review of your Google form and kind of look at that. Make sure it's super simple. I've been, observing what we call landing pages, right? Is the link that you would send somebody whenever you want them to apply. And I think sometimes we ask them to fill out more information than what's really needed, right? Because the purpose of that is very simple. We just want to give them basic information and that they complete it. That's the major objective, right? So you may want to do an audit if you've been noticing that maybe you've been sending a lot of links and maybe there's that maybe a bit of frustration of like, I wish I could get more results. It may be good to go back and look at the lesson 4 document, and go back through there and just do a quick audit. Keep it simple, right? All we really need is their contact information so we can follow up and schedule them for an interview. That's it, right? Too much information typically leads to distraction. And then the last thing is this, probably the most important thing, is every time that we have somebody that is in a positive conversation with us, we have to ask them to share our wall post. That is like a must, and that is the ultimate amplifier for this program. And along the lines of that, make sure that last week's wall post isn't still up, right? So it's like you just look at somebody's wall and it's like recruiting. Like that's probably somebody that strikes me as a little bit off, right? So I would go back and make sure that you delete last week's wall post, recruitment specific, as you're posting a new one, right? Just to kind of keep your wall clean and tidy. So those are the 4 things, just general reminders here. And then as far as, I'm going to share my screen real quick. I want to show you all something. This is just the power of amplification of this program. So this is Nathan Alvarado. This is from last year, but I want you all to check this out. So this is actually 71 people shared his recruiting wall post. 71. And that doesn't happen by accident. So obviously we asked him like, hey, what did you do? And it was really just showing up. Every time I ended a conversation, no matter what they said, he basically just asked him for the share, right? And then obviously he shared some screenshots here. Very simple, right? Oh, and if you can, could you please share the post I just put up on my wall about the position? I'm trying to get the word out, and some of your friends may be looking for summer break work. Super simple. 71 shares. So you got to remember that. That is huge, because now their whole network is exposed to your post, right? This is Brady Flanders, who basically, 35% of his liftoff seminar last year was Facebook Jumpstart. And this is somebody that actually shared it, but they personalized it a little bit, right? This is somebody saying like, hey, I believe in the opportunity, totally check it out. So those are just a few reminders there to obviously stay engaged in the program, but also make sure that you are asking for the share there.
Love it. Any last things on this particular topic in general, or do you want to move on?
No, we're all good here.
Okay, great. So the next thing that I want to do is focus on, so we're still on Facebook Jumpstart a little bit. Now, I mentioned before that it is right now is a great time to continue recruiting because your messages actually create more results right now because people are in full-on job search mode or they're a little bit more open-minded to the opportunity because they need to find a job, right? So in regards to reaching back out to people or following up with people who maybe seemed interested but hadn't yet filled out the Google form, what would be your suggestion for people to kind of rebirth their Facebook Jumpstart lists?
Yeah. So I think I would divide this up into 3 priorities. So I think there's a low priority, there's a medium, and then there's a high. So in terms of following up, I would say the low priority would be the ones that you message and they kind of left you on red. Meaning they read your message, but they didn't respond. That's probably low priority, right? Your chances of getting them to respond from re-engaging, very, very low return on investment when it comes to time, which we all know is running an office. We don't have a lot of that, right? So that's low priority. If I were thinking about a medium priority activity for following up, this would be you've sent them the link, but they have not applied. That's a medium priority. That also means that they did show interest. So that's a good thing, right? So here's what I would encourage you to do. This would be a good medium priority activity. I'm going to share my screen again real quick, Shelby, if that's cool.
Totally fine.
Okay. So if I'm thinking about, kind of the customer life cycle, right? So they heard, oh, hey, here's this job, here's this message, right? We gave them a little bit of information, they considered it, and they're kind of in this phase right here of like they're about to purchase, but they're not really certain as to, hey, can I fully commit or not? This is actually really a prime opportunity as we're talking about medium priority here to follow up. So I would make a note here 24 to 48 hours after messaging them to send them a follow-up. And the follow-up's pretty simple. This is in the FAQ document in the Facebook Jumpstart community. It's really simple. It's just, hi again. Hey, I was looking over the incoming applications. I didn't see yours. I'm not sure if you're still interested or not, but I wanted to check in one last time to let you know that I'm currently reviewing all applications for the week and I could add yours to the mix, right? So that's something, if I'm thinking about something that I'm building into my routine of messaging, that's something kind of like a follow-up that I think would be very, 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 very worth it, right? To include in your routine. So that's, that's something that would help. Also, I think we'll get into this a little bit later on, but this is something that's pretty fascinating. This is something Connor Morita did. If you noticed, messaged him here, he read it, but he also did what? He also watched his Facebook story. So they're trying to figure out kind of within this routine of like, do I actually trust this person to fill out an application, right? So that's something you can do. I know Facebook stories isn't like, it's not the thing all people are on, but hey, if we're gonna be messaging them, it's actually right. Facebook's made it so easy because as you're messaging them, you just click on their profile right there and it opens up their story. So this is an opportunity for you to be you. And I think this gives us another opportunity to increase our number of applications. So that's medium priority. Any questions there? Or?
Not for me. This is great.
Let's jump into high priority. High priority is they didn't schedule an interview. So they filled out an application. They already committed. This is just what we do every single time that we jump into our Facebook recruiting activity. This would be following up about interviews, right? And this would be, obviously this is in the FAQ as well, but hey, blank, I just wanted to reach out again because our interview spots are filling up pretty quick. What does your schedule look like for next week? So that's in the FAQ. So they've already filled out an application. You've reached out to them to schedule, and they didn't respond to your text message. So that's high priority because they're further along in the, I guess, in the cycle of purchasing, right? And actually showing up to your interview. And guys, also, I think it's fair to note here that while you're messaging, the goal isn't to make everybody a Vector and Cutco cheerleader, right? It's not just to create raving fans. Regardless of if you realize it or not, you're making an impression. So in my opinion, it's to leave them with a positive leaving feeling. Regardless of if they come in for an interview or not, realize that every interaction, every time that we open our mouth via text, right, that we're leaving an impression. So I think it's so important that regardless of if they show to an interview or not, that we're leaving them feeling good, right? This is somebody, Hannah Marie Drown, awesome leader in Facebook Jumpstart, and also just a great human. But she literally had somebody, that was a little bit combative, multi-level marketing, right? And throughout the course of, obviously she's creating time to really have a good conversation. It looks like this person has had a prior experience doing something in network marketing. They just, had kind of a bad vibe. She took her time. She treated him with respect. If you see here, now this individual, Tyler, is actually asking her about her story. How'd you get started with the company? So now it's not Vector versus this guy, but it's actually Hannah and Tyler just having a conversation about, work. That's what's really cool. So she shared her story, being really open and transparent. Look at this. It's actually amazing. I'm glad you found the success you did. Talk about a complete flip, right? And then look, here's what we talked about at the beginning. If you wouldn't mind, could you please share the post on my wall? And then absolutely, right? So, I mean, these are the things that we have to keep in mind is you're always making an impression. Michael King, current district manager, oh yeah, I've heard of Vector. I don't think I'm interested. Thanks so much for the message though. Hey, would you mind sharing the post? Absolutely, right? So just keeping in mind that we're always making an impression there. So if I had to break it down into the actual priorities, those would be the three. So low priority is if they left you on red and they didn't do anything. Medium would be you sent them a link, they didn't fill out the application. And then high priority would be they filled out an application, but they didn't respond to schedule an interview.
Now, Joel, what about someone who didn't read your initial message?
Yeah, if they didn't read your initial message, there's really not a lot we can do to influence if they read it or not, right? So I think that's kind of where we would probably, with our posting schedule and with our branding mindset, right? We would probably find a way to create some intrigue, which we're going to talk about here in a second, as you're just being social on social media.
Awesome. Great.
Because not everybody logs into Facebook, right? Like if you think about our demographic 17 to 22, Facebook probably isn't it's probably not platform number one. It may be 2 or 3, right? So maybe they log in once a week. So just give it some time.
Yeah, cool. So I want to jump into a feature that I recently shared with you. It's a great segue, as a matter of fact, because I saw, Liz, you just shared on the chat feature the nugget about sharing your story. And, I love the fact that Hannah was able to break down those walls with that person. And actually, the fact that he asked her for her story is, I think, somewhat rare, but also really awesome at the same time. And it gave her the chance to honestly and openly share her story. And I always share this with people in our branch impact group that, you know, even with the negative people that try to tell you that you're a scammer or that you're this, you're that, and this is a joke and whatever, you're the one who knows the truth, guys. Like, you're the one who has the story. You're the one who has the keys to the office. You're the one who gets the paychecks, goes on the trip. So even if someone is trying to take you down from attacking your character, I know it doesn't feel good, but just remember that you are the one that knows the truth. It is not them. And so the ability to be able to share your story from an authentic standpoint is really important. And so there's a feature here that we haven't really talked much about, but I do want to introduce this all to you, and I actually want to give you an example here. There is a feature on Facebook Messenger that actually allows you to record a voice memo. And when you record a voice memo and you respond to somebody with a voice memo, now I don't recommend doing this for all of your initial messages or anything where it's a pretty simple copy and paste response, but if someone starts to ask you like, well, what have you done here, or whatever it might be, feel free to utilize the voice feature. And so I actually want to share my screen here, and I want to share with you something that I had happen to me. Now, I have a lot of people that reach out to me randomly because my profession on my Facebook wall says working for vector marketing. So I had this girl, Taylor Nicole, reach out to me saying, hi, Shelby, I have an interview with vector marketing in a few hours, and I've seen your comments and the reviews on it. I'm kind of scared. Is it legit or no? And I responded to Taylor, hey, Taylor, it is very legit. I work for the corporate headquarters. She then sent me this, which is a very negative review. And I had a couple choices here. I could, one, stop responding to her because I have no tie to her. I'm not trying to recruit her. I could have easily stopped responding and said, oh, well, you know, whoever is trying to recruit her will deal with this. Two, I could have gotten clammed up and nervous and not known how to respond and, just chose not to respond because I was too nervous. Or I could have been combative and been like, well, that's all wrong. Or three, I could have chosen to do this. So I utilized the Facebook voice feature. And Joel, I'm going to play it. Nod your head if you can hear it. I'm not sure if it's going to allow you to hear what I'm playing. But hold on one second. Instead, because I'm out right now with some friends, but I do want to address what you said to me. I totally understand how you can be nervous about seeing reviews like that, but I'm going to give you my honest opinion and my story. So I started a vector in 2012. I was 18 months old. I was a high school senior. And I met the people on a board and dad said to me, they'll ask you to follow anything, during the interview, walk out right away. It's a scam. So I said, okay. And I walked in, and they explained the entire position to me. I was a contract position, and I would be paid no matter what I said.
I can't really understand what you're saying.
Really understand it, but you get the gist of it. So the gist is that I utilize the Facebook voice memo feature, and I said, Taylor, I totally understand that you could be hesitant about this position. I appreciate you reaching out to me for more information, and what I'd like to do is share my story with you. That way you know where I'm coming from, and if you have any further questions about my story, feel free to ask. And I just shared my initial story. I didn't go into crazy detail, but I just shared with her how, when I was 18 years old, I was approached by this company, and my dad was a little bit nervous at first, and I decided I'm just going to go in with an open mind, and I shared it very intentionally to kind of help her feel comfortable with at least getting into the interview, because we know that half the battle is just getting them into the interview. So I wasn't like, and I went on to win a scholarship and I made $100,000. I didn't want to share with her some things that could be twisted as too good to be true. I just wanted to share with her like why I decided to stay open-minded and get into the interview. So that was my intention with her. So the voice feature is one that can really be used to just show people that you are human and that you have your own story and you have your own vector experience. And when they can hear your voice, they all of a sudden, their guard drops a little bit because now they've heard your voice. They can put your voice to your face. They know that you're not some 75-year-old creepy man behind your face trying to do something weird. Like, they know that you are normal. So I would definitely utilize the voice feature. And the one thing that I recommend doing is practicing using it first, because there's a couple of things that are a little bit janky about it. The first one is that when you hold it down, the minute you release it, it sends. Now, if you don't want it to send, you have to swipe up so that it deletes it. But if you're doing this for your first time and you're not totally sure how to do it properly, and you accidentally send a half-said message, it can be a little bit awkward. So I would practice it first. And the second thing is you only get 1 minute. So just make sure that you're watching the time. It'll record and you'll see the time going. And when you get to that 1 minute, just stop, and then you can send them a second recording to finish up what you're saying. But Joel, do you have any thoughts that you want to add on to that?
No, I think you nailed it. You know, it really does break through the trust barrier, which is pretty awesome, right? It speaks louder than text. That was notable. There we go.
Cool. So then a good segue from this would be how else to break through that trust barrier. So we're moving away from the direct response now into the branding. And how do we create that curiosity? Let's say we've done all of our messages, we've done all the follow-ups. How do we get people to, maybe start thinking, okay, maybe this is legit. Maybe I should try this out. Like, I'm going to actually message and say, hey, what is this? How do we do that?
Yeah, this is something to think about is what, if we're moving from, like you said, Shelby, from direct response, which is where we sent them a message, right? We're looking for them to respond and take an action immediately, right? Or there's a link to click, there's some kind of activity for them to do. So we have to kind of shift mindset. In the vector world, we're very direct response driven, right? It's all about who's set for interviews today, how many PRs did you schedule, how many you're set for training, how many did you launch, how many PR names, right? It's very measurable. So we're shifting into now of this kind of the branding or the long game. And I think it's important to ask, like, what is the objective here? And if I'm thinking about as a manager or somebody that's wanting to brand myself and what I do, I'm thinking of branding as demystifying who you are and what you represent. There's this rule I was reading about called the 90-30 rule. 30% of people will believe what a brand says. 90% of people will believe what an individual says about their experience with a brand. And Shelby, that's what you're talking about with your story. Your story is so powerful because it's your story, right? It's not, hey, check out this review or check out this Better Business Bureau rating or check out this USA Today award. Those things are great, but that's not your story, right? People can refute that. People can say, oh, here's another link, right? And you don't want to get into a spitting match, but they can't refute your personal experience. So as you get into branding, I would think about, so you've built this audience, which is awesome. So you have an audience of 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 people that you know are recruitable. That's so awesome. Like, you'll have an awesome opportunity to brand. So I would be thinking about this as a really positive strategy and how you can hit the ground running. So here's two questions I would ask myself. One is, consider your audience. So who is listening whenever you click publish on anything? So it's kind of like you always have to think about who's on the other end. So if I'm listening, like, let's say the best rap song ever played, right? And you're playing it at this party, but everybody at the party is like into smooth jazz. You know what I mean? Like, the audience just isn't, they're not feeling it. It's kind of like, I'll use a wedding reference, Shelby, since you're there. You're seeing the finish line.
100 days away.
Yeah, there it is. But at my wedding, we started off with kind of like the old school, right? Like, grandma's there, we're hanging out. And then as the night progressed, you know what I mean? Like it got a little bit more towards kind of my friends and that kind of thing. So you always have to consider your audience when you're posting. That's question number one. Number two is you got to consider your message. So what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? And you have to keep that consistent with who you are and what you're wanting to portray. It'd be weird if you saw Apple products do an ad about, hamburgers. You're like, what? This is Apple, right? Like, know who you are, what you represent, and stay in line there, right? Branding is something that you do consistently. And of course, you'll turn some people off, and that's okay, right? That's okay. If we wanted to please everybody, we'd be in the ice cream business. Some will be intrigued, and that's what we're going to talk about here. And although they may have left you on red on your messages, they may see something that you post and it's like, whoa, that's a little different. And here's what's cool. The opportunity that you represent is different. It's different by nature. We're not the normal job, right? We're not the normal summer job. And that's actually can be used to our advantage. And that's why I don't know if y'all seen all the hashtags and stuff on our corporate social media, but it's do something different. We do something different. We don't show up at the normal blank to blank and get paid by the hour, right? You get paid based on performance, paid based on value. So some people get that and some people won't. And that's okay. You have to be okay with that, but you got to speak to that. Maybe they're sitting at their job. They left you on red. They hate their summer job. And then they see you post like this motivational quote. It's like, dude, who is this 20-year-old that's always like happy about life? That's different. Yes, it's different, and different is attractive. That's also branding. So as I'm thinking about what you can use now to brand, one easy thing that you can do, plug and play, would be recognizing sales leaders on your current team. There is I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Andrew Belanger, you may have heard a few of his audios, kind of the guy that started this whole thing of Facebook Jumpstart. Now we have this amazing program here, but there's a post he shared back in 2017 that we cataloged, but check it out. So he's got kind of the sales report here, right? And then he's saying the Raleigh office was the number 9 pilot office in the entire company in new business this past week. Shout out to, right? And he's talking about all these people and their accomplishments. Now, a few things he didn't do is tag the people, right? I think that's really good to tag everyone. There's a few terminology here that I'd probably stay away from. I wouldn't use vector lingo like a homemaker +8, right? Because nobody knows what that is if I'm just a regular student. But you could talk about like, hey, they already received their first performance-based promotion, right? Like use things, use wording that is common vernacular, right? And that people would understand. So that's something great. This is something you can utilize immediately. You can always love on your people, right? Here's another opportunity this is sharing like personal stuff, your personal life, right? What are you doing? This is Chloe Elliott that actually ran, looks like a marathon here. And she said that the most engaging content for students in us living our mission statement. Pretty cool. And she had all these interactions. She said a third of them were from Facebook Jumpstart people. That's pretty sweet, right? So they're actually sharing in triumphs personally, right, for you. And then they're also sharing like team stuff, which is awesome, right? To recognize your people publicly like that. Shelby,
I'd like to jump in here. Couple of things I want to recognize. It's great that Lydia Frensos is on the call here because a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was like a month ago, Lydia, you posted that video of you singing with the ukulele. Perfect example, different, and she has a beautiful voice. I could never post a video. People would unfriend me if I posted a video of me trying to play something on a ukulele. But I love that Lydia thought about, okay, what makes her different? What is something that she can be totally herself doing? And she shared it with people. And I do the same thing if you go on my social media. Like there's oftentimes I posted a picture of myself with a donut over my eyeball. And I said, just eat the damn donut. And for me, like, I love donuts and I love to eat sweets. And I posted that because that resonated with me. And I got a lot of likes and comments because it resonated with a lot of my followers. And I know who my audience is. So I think it's really important that you recognize that it doesn't have to be all work. And that it's okay to be normal. It's okay to be quirky. It's okay to be vulnerable and interesting and funny and silly and posting pictures of you with your dogs or with your family or with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Like, it's totally okay to do those things. As a matter of fact, it's recommended to break down that barrier. And yeah, memes that we post are great, but have you ever posted a picture of you and your siblings? That's even better. You know, it's like showing people that you are a real human. It's a lot harder for someone to hate on you when you just posted a picture of you celebrating your grandmother's 96th birthday. Like, they're like, wow, you are a normal person with a grandmother who's almost 100 years old. That's pretty awesome, right? It's a lot harder for people to hate on you when you really show up and be authentically you. Second thing that I want to recommend is that for those of you that are part of the Branch Impact page, and if you're not part of it, you can just message me and I can send this to you. I actually created a document last year that walks you through how to celebrate people on social media. So I want to share this screen with you because it gives you some examples of things to say. So I'm going to make it so you can all see it here. So it just starts out by, you know, telling you the reasons why celebrating people on social media is really important, but it gives you some examples of what to celebrate. And exactly what Joel said, don't use CPO and fast star and, you know, these things that people won't understand what they are. So congratulations to Sally Homemaker and Christopher Galley. Obviously, you tag your people in there and say, who both received their first promotion and their first official raise in their very first weekend on the job. Who doesn't like promotions and more money? You guys rock. And I would venture as far as posting a photo of the two of them together and be like, and the three of you, maybe a selfie or something like that that catches their eyes and shows them that they're real people. Again, there are real people on your team. And the reality is, and you can't hate people for doing this because this, again, is different. A lot of people, when they just are first approached by vector marketing, their image in their mind might be you sitting in like this dark office with a trench coat on and like knives in your trench coat. Like, they have no idea what to expect or what this opportunity actually is. So when you show that, yes, young people work here. Yes, I am a young person. Yes, people are having success here. It shifts that original perception into something that's way more positive and real because you're giving them real proof, right? Big launch. Again, you don't have to wait for things to come from a result standpoint. Like, even if you're having a big launch of 8, 9, 10 people, 3 people, it doesn't matter. Super excited to introduce our newest training class to the Tennessee Titans. These young adults are ready to take the world by storm. Can't wait to watch you all succeed. Insert team chant. Once again, showing that you are a leader. You're showing up for your people. You are excited for them. Key staff promotion. Again, you can find every little reason to celebrate people on your page here. Again, on this document, it says where to celebrate, things to remember, helpful hints. And again, this is on the Branch Impact page in the file section. So make sure you check that out and start implementing it immediately. Any other tips on that particular topic there, Joel?
I guess just one quick thing here is anytime that you tell a story, number one is obviously don't use lingo that people that we're posting to, right, our audience wouldn't understand. It's number one. Number two is don't make it all about vector, right? If you think about a movie, I guess I'll use like Star Wars. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, but everybody knows Star Wars. There's this little man called Yoda, right? Yoda is not the hero by any means, but he's like the advisor. He's like the wise one that they seek counsel in, right? Without him, you know, Luke Skywalker, whatever, he's not going to be Luke Skywalker, right? So Vector's kind of like little Yoda. He's not the hero of the story, but he's going to help that person achieve whatever it is, right? It's kind of like the vehicle. So whenever you're telling a story, whenever you're writing a caption or something, it's just there, right? But it's not, if you look at like our recent Instagram post on the corporate page, you'll notice that it's not rah, rah, rah. It's not vector, vector, vector. Vector's in there. It may even just be a title, right? At the end of the copy, this person achieved some really great thing. And at the end, hey, they happen to be a vector district manager. That's cool, right? So if you put vector in at the beginning, turns people off that aren't already a part of the company. If they're ingrained into the story, they listen, because it's about a human who's doing the exact same thing that they are, right? They're a student, they're looking for work, they may be frustrated. And these are concepts that no matter how you post on social media, this is the way to not exclude anyone in your audience, right? And to get more engagement, more interaction, and more impact, right? And I know thinking through this, you're like, man, is it worth it? That's got to be a question you're asking yourself. I got interviews, I got PR. Is it really worth it to get on social media? You kind of have to divide up social media, because I work on social media like a lot, right? And so for me, I have to really distinguish work social media and play social media, right? And I have to create time for work social media to be just about work. And it's tempting, right? Whenever you get on social media to not be like, oh, what's this? You know, scroll. Like my wife and I call it lost. You get lost on social media. Like 30 minutes goes by and you're still scrolling. You forget why you even opened your phone. And it was like, you know, to change a song, right? So, yeah, so that's just kind of an aside there. And you know, Lydia, what you did the other day, sharing, that was being vulnerable, right? Like singing, you're exposing a part of you that that is it's kind of challenging to do that, right? So I love it. We can talk about some tools, I guess, if I'm thinking about strategies of branding, right? What are some tools that you can utilize within Facebook? So there's there's a few here that I can think of. Facebook Live. You know, you talked about kind of the like Facebook stories. There's a few things here that can be more tools and tactics for branding. Is there anything you want to talk about specifically, like any of the tools?
I would love to, in the last 10 minutes here, then we can give like 5 minutes for Q&A. I would love to talk about Facebook Lives. I think that is something that we're starting to kind of dabble in. And it has the ability to really show people that this is legit, right? When you show your office and you share your story. And, you know, I'd like to kind of turn it over to you, but I do want to make one quick little comment about it. I know it's nerve-wracking. And the first time you do Facebook Live, you're going to be nervous. You're going to feel the jitters. It is nerve-wracking. I am acknowledging that. But if it could develop your first 10K fast starter, is it worth it? If it could increase your response rate by even just 10%, that's additional 5 people right there responding and filling out your application. Is it worth it? So realizing that, yes, it's nerve-wracking. Yes, it's a little bit uncomfortable. Yes, it can be awkward. But again, we are human, and sometimes showing the imperfection is what makes people so attracted to you. So realizing that it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to have a script. Just go with the flow. You're a vector manager. You like to hear yourself talk. Yes. Like, don't lie to me. You like to hear yourself talk. I'm doing it right now. I'm just, blabbering. Anyway, just wanted to make that quick little note. Joel, it's all yours.
Nice. Yeah, you touched on it, Facebook Live. So really, I think 2 reasons to utilize Facebook Live. Number one is it does show vulnerability. People are very much aware that whenever you hit the go button on Facebook Live, that there is no redo, right? Like, unless you, but it's real, right? It's being you. It breaks down all kind of barriers of trust, as the kids call it nowadays, trust issues. It's you, right? So that's reason number one is it's just you and it's real. Reason number 2, and then we'll get into kind of like some ways you can utilize it immediately, is it's being noticed right now by social media marketing professionals that Facebook is favoring Facebook Live more so than just like a regular video that's produced or a post. So this is a great way to what they call reach more people within your network. So maybe that person did leave you on red that you sent a message to. However, they may get a Facebook notification that you're going live, right? Oh, who's this person? Oh, I've seen them a lot. Let me just click and see what's up, right? Because it's different. Because it's different, not a lot of people are doing it. Because it's nerve-wracking, not a lot of people are doing it. As vector managers, I think we would lean towards that and say, that's probably our opportunity. So let's talk about real quick what to cover. So you can either, there's two routes you can take here. One is you can do direct response, meaning I'm going to tell them about what I do, and I'm going to be very direct that we're accepting applications. You can take that route with Facebook Live. You can also go more of the branding route, which is talking about maybe it's recognizing someone on the team, maybe just for their attitude, right? Or something like that. You could also talk about how nervous you are, right? You're starting a new business. You could be vulnerable, right? So you can use it more for branding or direct response. That's your first decision that you would need to make is what is the objective of this, okay? If you want an example of a direct response, Gia posted one in the Facebook Jumpstart group. I can actually share some links too. But she did a general, kind of like an info session. She did an office tour showing the interview room, the training room, some awards, some pictures, stuff like that. It really broke down a lot of walls of trust, right? And then there's also, on the other side of branding, I remember last year, Nicole Nesbitt had 1,900 views on, I don't know if you remember Shelby, but.
Oh yeah.
All she did, she shared her empty office. It had paintings all on the ground. Everything. She's just like, you can tell she's shaking. Like her phone's like, and she was just so excited. And at the end, she did a brief plug for, hey, yeah, I'm excited. We're going to break some records. She cast a vision. And then it was like a minute long and she signed off. 1,900 views. So there's kind of, and then option C would be kind of a mixture of that, right? So what should your live be? Think about it. Do some basic bullet points, put some thought into it, but then also let it flow from the heart. It's hard to say the wrong thing when you speak from the heart. So,
yeah, and I want to add on that too. By the way, guys, I mean, the more the merrier. Like you could do a live per week. Your first live is, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I wanted to let you know. You might have gotten a letter from me in the mail. This is what it looks like. Francesca Hoffman did this yesterday. She's a branch out in Elgin, Illinois. And she talked about, hey, you might have gotten a letter in the mail from me. This is what it looks like. Here's the opportunity. And she was very much direct response type person. Miranda McAllister did a much longer video where she talked about her story, and she shared her story and kind of went through and gave a tour of her office. I've seen people interview their top sales reps for the week. And again, you can do this on a weekly basis, and people will start to see you as someone they can like listen in on and trust. And again, it might not be the first Facebook Live they watch, but it might be the second one. And then they like the second one, they go back and watch the first one. And this all has to do with the branding aspect of, in today's time, there's so many different things going on that somebody needs to see a name or a brand like 14 times in order to make a purchasing decision. It's the same thing with you. So you can do multiple different types of Facebook Lives. One quick suggestion that I do for myself, again, I know it's nerve-wracking, and when you're so busy on social media, or not social media, in work, it's easy to put things off. So something that I do when I am going Facebook Live is I do a post in the morning that says, hey everyone, super excited, I'm going to be going live tonight to talk about X, Y, and Z. And I usually create, and Joel, I want to get your opinion on how to create curiosity with the title. But like I did a post the other day, or not the other day, but maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, about how I had to how I had to decide, how I had to like call it quits on a program that I was creating. And I made a post that morning saying, hey everybody, I'm going live tonight on one of the biggest mistakes I've made in a while. Where I was like, I'm going live tonight on something that I'm kind of ashamed about. And it created some interest, and people were like, what is she going to be talking about? And then that night I made my caption, something that I'm really ashamed of, ... And I wasn't like airing my dirty laundry, but I was, again, creating that curiosity. So by making a post in the morning, it kind of psychologically forces you to do it at night. That way you have to hold yourself accountable to what you said you were going to do. So that's one thing. If you feel like you're someone who could easily put this off, I would challenge you to make a post in the morning to create that initial curiosity. That way it forces you to do it at nighttime too.
That's so good. Hey, you think about closure, right? You always want closure to a story. I was reading about this gal. She was trying out Instagram stories when they first came out. And it was like she did like 5 slides. And the first 2 posted and the other 3 didn't for some reason. And she built up so much suspense in the first 2. She said she like woke up, she looked at her phone, and she had like 50 DMs. It was everybody like, why did you stop? Like, tell me what, and she realized that it was curiosity and it was intrigue. She started the story, but she didn't finish it. So absolutely. So I guess titles are really important, because Facebook Live, you actually title them, right? So if I'm thinking about doing a very direct response title, it may be something like summer work, what we do. Is it for you?
That, like, or did you get a letter from me in the mail? Something like that too. Or did you get a random message from me did I slide into your DMs? That could be one. It's funny. But yeah, creating curiosity. You don't want to be like, I don't know. Yeah, you just want to keep it a little bit mysterious.
Like branding, I'm thinking of like college student in May running a business in June, right? If you're doing more of a branding, kind of exciting about opening my office, or finals are over, now I'm moving into my new office, or got the keys to my new office, here's a tour. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. First interview complete in my new office at the age of 20. What? Like, I'm 20. What? We're different, and we're creating intrigue by that. Like, I'm very intrigued that you're 20. I'm going to college. I want to be ambitious. I have goals, and you're running a business. Like, tell me more. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Or you can do something like, I'm trying to think of how you can create a title that creates the intrigue around creating like the best resume ever. So something like looking to create a kick-ass resume that will help you nail every job post-grad. Listen in. Something like that. But I always suggest like ending a Facebook Live with some type of call to action. So whether it is something like DM me for more information, drop a comment below if you've got any questions, or maybe not that, but drop a comment below if you loved what I said, or hit the hearts if you're feeling this too, or whatever it might be. That way, just creates that engagement for people. But we've got 3 more minutes left, and this has been really great, and I'm super excited to post a recording. But I wanted to give Sienna and Lydia and Marlena, and I don't know who 716-799-4268 is, but I want to give you all the chance to ask any questions that you might have regarding this particular topic.
Yeah. It's been fun.
Totally has been. And if you have no questions, that's totally fine. I could talk some more. Any final thoughts, Joel, that you want to add here regarding Facebook?
No, not really. I think we've covered a lot here. I just, I guess objective 1 would be to go back through your notes and say, all right, what does this actually mean? Right? Because we talked a lot of like theories and principles and strategies and tactics. And it's kind of like when you leave an event, you take a bunch of notes, and it's like, what did you change? I'm fired up. It's like, oh, that's great, So I would probably go back through and say, hey, what does this actually mean starting this week, right? In my training class this week, what can I do, right? Can I recognize one person just for being amazing, right? Having a great attitude or going above and beyond. Be thinking about that. Hey, we didn't even mention your Facebook local pages, right? For your offices. So it's a whole other, right? So anyways, we could talk for hours. Put together a plan of action, and I'll try and post some stuff too of like just kind of some maybe some links to the screenshots I mentioned and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Too.
I want to make one last comment before we jump off here. When you do make these social media posts, whether it's a Facebook Live or a recognition post, utilize the branch impact page to drive some traffic to the post, because the Facebook algorithm favors posts that have likes and comments. So if you make a post about a team member and you want some likes and comments, post about it on the branch impact page and say, hey guys, I'm trying to drive traffic to this post. Can you please go and like and comment on the post? Or just like it, again, if you just get, like, if you look at a post that has 65 likes or a post that has 0 likes, what are you more likely to trust? Usually the one that has 65 likes. So don't be afraid to use that community to help drive traffic to those posts. But other than that, I think we did a great job of covering everything. Any questions you have, feel free to reach out. And good luck building your brands on social media.
Thanks, Shelby.
Yep, no problem. Bye.
Bye.